Live.
We are live. Welcome, everybody. You are in for a real treat today. You're about to learn the insider secrets on how to transform your stress into success. My name is Michael Haskett, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this webinar today. I'm the creative director at Durango Marketing, where our slogan is the Webinar Wizards. Just before I introduce our expert, let's make sure everyone can hear and see me okay. Just type yes in the chat box, which is over on the right-hand side of your screen, if you can hear me and see me okay. And to help you along with that, here's an image of what you're going to be looking at. That's from a couple days ago. That's not today's picture. See where the blue arrow is and it shows chat? That's your chat box. And down at the bottom here, where you see this blue arrow, it says write your message here. That's where you enter anything in the chat box. And if you press enter on your keyboard or keypad, it will come out to us and we'll be able to communicate that way. Dennis is in for a yes. Good morning, Dennis. Good afternoon. I'm not sure where you're from. Sandy's in for a yes. So we're getting everybody to see us clearly, which is great. That always makes it better when everybody can see and hear properly. Now, as we carry on, I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions here. What is your job? And is your stress related to work, business, or is it more personal? If you want to answer those questions in the same chat box, what that does is that helps us to customize our presentation today for you, to make it as personal and interactive for you as we can. Hello, Dina. Hello, Steve.
Deanna.
Deanna, thank you, Roger, for correcting me in that. Hello, Deanna. Let's get it correct. Make sure people appreciate their names right. While you're typing those in, I just want to go over a couple real quick pointers on our communication today. To bring this webinar to you, we've had to use a lot of different components to wrap them all up together. We need your internet and your computer, or your iPhone if you're on your iPhone, our internet, computers, 4 different software programs, Google, video, sound, and a couple other programs matched in there. Occasionally, one of these components just doesn't communicate correctly with another component, and there is a temporary glitch. Just like rebooting your computer quite often fixes the problem there, refreshing the page does the same here. So if at any time throughout the presentation you see something that doesn't look right, your screen freezes, you lose sound or picture, try refreshing or reloading the page. If that doesn't work, after a couple tries, then close out the page, return to your welcome email, and click on the login button again. All right, now that takes care of all of our technical.
That was a complicated thing. I hope everyone's stuff works so they don't have to follow that.
Exactly, let's hope so too. It does. We're getting comments in here. Kathy, hello, Kathy. Sandy says she works with children and her stress is related to work. Good, so we're getting people to start to answer our questions. That's wonderful.
Children stressful? I don't understand that.
What's that?
Joking. Children and stress go together very well.
Right.
Actually.
All right. So everybody wants to know what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn the insider secrets on how to transform your stress into success. Secret number 1 that we're going to discuss is how stress changes your character and how it can be used to your advantage. Secret number 2, how cutting-edge research can be applied to help you transform stress in your own life. And secret number 3, stress is necessary for peak performance and how to make it work for you. Our goal today is to teach you how to perform brilliantly from the office to everyday social events and a lot more. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to share with you for the very first time something truly amazing. I promise it'll be worth your time, so make sure you stick around to see what that is. So let's jump right into our presentation. On to our expert, Roger Haskett. And no, it's not a coincidence that Roger and I both have the same last name. We are brothers. And an insider joke is we know who the good-looking one is, but I'll let you guys decide who the oldest one is.
Yeah, I don't think it's clear who the good-looking one or the oldest one is. I'm curious to see what people will think about that.
Well, we'll find out about that in a minute. Let me introduce Roger. Roger is an award-winning writer, director, actor, teacher, speaker, and entrepreneur. Roger is very passionate, extremely passionate and positive individual with infectious energy that captivates and energizes and moves you. Roger and his company, rogerhaskett.com, focus on helping individuals and companies maximize their confidence, transform their stress into success, and unleash the power of play in their lives. Roger has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting and a Master's in Education. He's acted in over 150 films, TV shows, and commercials, and auditioned for approximately 3,000, and that's not a typo, that is true, 3,000 times over the last 20 years. Now, before we get to Roger live, some people are going to say, what has he done? Where has he been? What's his record? Well, let's give you an idea of what he's been in. iRobot, Duets, Stargate, X-Files, The Flash, those are just a few. Who's he worked with? Ben Affleck, Matt Dillon, Paul Giamatti, Shia LaBeouf, Shia, I hope I did that right for you, and Ricky Schroeder. Now, there's a quick picture of Roger and his family, and I'm going to switch over live to Roger, and there he is. Everybody, your expert for the day, Roger Haskett.
Hello. Hello, everyone. All right. So I'm glad we're on this picture of my family because this is us just getting back, or just we were in Mexico last week. And there's a couple things I want to talk about for this picture. First of all, you may notice, if you know me, my throat, my voice sounds a little bit different, a little huskier, maybe a little sexier. That's because I have, yeah, Michael's laughing. That's because I have, I got some sort of sinus thing the last day in Mexico, and it's just finally going away. Today it's just on its way out. But so I'm sounding a little bit weird. But also, I'm showing the family picture because if you notice the two cuties on the right, that's my wife holding my daughter, Emmy, who's only 1. So in our household, we have 3 kids under 10. In our household, we don't get a huge amount of sleep these days. So when I'm doing my presentations, I always show a slide of my family and say, at some point in it, I'm going to say, what was I talking about? Because I've got a very, a head that's crammed full of all sorts of different things. And it's a very distractible mind that I have, on top of which lack of sleep makes it for a potent combination. So it's a harder to do with the chat box for me to say, where was I? Because you guys will have to write in. But at a certain point, I might say, where was I? And that's your cue to be involved. Oh, we've got some testimonials. Okay, so before we start on what I'm going to be talking about in terms of transforming stress into power, it's really important, I think, to establish some social proof. And social proof is really simple. It's the idea that other people, what do other people say about you, as opposed to what do you say about yourself? Like, it's easy for me to toot my own horn, I'm really great, blah, 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 whatever, but it adds a lot more credibility when we have other people saying it for me or for us. This case. So look at, here's this woman, Annie, who came to one of my presentations. And she stayed around afterwards and asked me some questions. She was like, I'm a writer, and I have a book reading in a week, and it's terrifying me. I've never been able to go to a book reading without it being a terrifying experience. And it always, like, you know, gets in my head, and I feel like I can never do a good job, etc. So what she said, I find is quite interesting. I followed many of your suggestions and even found to my amazement that I was not even nervous. You had an enormous impact on me and my ability to achieve this lifelong goal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, you know, one of the things that I'm really proud about is what I teach, what I talk about actually really makes a difference. Like, it actually makes a difference. It made a difference in my life. Holy cow, did it ever make a difference in my life and in the students that I've taught over the years, acting students or whatever. But it really does make a difference. And here's another testimonial from Dave, a buddy of mine, who's a speaker. He's actually a CSP, which is a very high designation for a speaker. So he's been, you know, recognized as being an incredible speaker. And this is what he said about me, which is amazing. And if Dave, you might be on this call. If you're on this call, thank you, buddy, for this testimonial. You're an awesome guy. The world is lucky that a talented actor named Roger Haskett has stepped off the stage and into the meeting world. His energy and passion light up a room. He was by far the best speaker. Now, this is not just any normal conference he's talking about. This was a conference of professional speakers. So I was speaking at a conference for professional speakers. Talk about stressful. And I'm talking about how to be a better speaker. Talk about stressful. That's why I need to take the things that I talk about. Oh, and I didn't finish that testimonial, but whatever. He said some good things. So let's go on to actual content stuff. So I'm 13 years old. Not right now, obviously. I'm in grade 9, and I'm a normal teenager. I'm extremely shy. I'm extremely painfully skinny and awkward feeling. My face is growing in ways that are not proportional. You know, I'm a normal teenager. I feel very, very, very self-conscious. Around my friends, I'm the life of the party, right? Like with my group of friends, we all have the best time all the time. But the moment someone new comes in, especially if that new person happens to be a girl, and then everything for me falls apart. Life of the party dies. I become a wallflower. I'm just like, what? I'm not able to be myself, right? Like this is what, you know, teenagers struggle with on a daily, on a minute-to-minute basis. So I'm in grade 9, and that's who I am. I'm in math class, and Mr. Sullivan, this awesome teacher, says to me, "Hey, Haskett, I want to talk to you after class." And I'm like, "What? Like, what did I do? Like, I'm a good student." So I go up after class. Michael, you had Mr. Sutherland as well, didn't you?
He was a fabulous teacher.
Yeah. Actually, I saw him at a reunion recently. He's a great guy. He's an awesome
Very
guy.
authoritative, though.
Authoritative and but fun. And so anyway, he goes, "Haskett, come up." And I'm like, "All right." So I go up and I see him after class, and he says, "All right. So the principal has tasked me with finding some student leaders." And he's looking at me, and I'm like,
Looking at him.
"Yeah, like what, you want me to help you find some student leaders? Like, what are you talking to me for?" And he goes, "So I want you to come to this lunch next Tuesday as my representative of a student leader." So I walk out of the class in a fog and like, you know, going, "What is this about?" Like, I do not self-identify as a student leader. And I start to feel stressed, like immediately, like, what? I'm going to be going to this thing where I'm a student leader. I don't feel like a student leader, and I'm going to be doing what? I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So I do what I do, which is I get some support, because it turns out that your support network is like the most important thing in life. There's a study, one of the longest studies in the world so far was this 70-year study of these people who graduated like back in the 20s or something. And they studied them for 70 years. And what they found when they asked, in this book, The Happiness Advantage, which I recommend all of you read, or watch his TED Talk, which is great, but a very small bit of the book. The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor. In it, they talk about, he says, I have one question to ask you. What did you learn in this 70-year study? What did you learn? And the scientist says, I can sum it up in one word. I can sum it up in one word. 70-year study, one word. What is that word? And the word is love. He said that the difference between people who had more success in their life, whatever that success meant for them, you know, personal success, like social success, business success, whatever. The word is love, because the people who had strong social networks around them were the ones that did the best. The ones that had social support are the humans that do the best, because we are social animals. And we're going to be talking about this a lot as we go forward, because that's who we are. It's in our DNA. So social animal, getting support is what I do. I reach out to my friend Lindsay, and I think this is on the screen right now. So there's young Lindsay, who doesn't look young at all there. And there's young Roger. What? Like, if you're a girl, like, come on, it's an easy choice. And as a matter of fact, I often joke that the girls that were interested in me in high school had one word to describe them. If I were to describe them with one word, it would be this: brave. Because I think that anyone who's can like stand up and say, I like that guy who is very weird acting and weird looking, to me, they had to be pretty brave. Okay, so I get Lindsay and I say, Lindsay, will you come with me to this student leader thing? And Lindsay, because he's such a good friend and he's such a great guy, says to me, of course, without any questions, of course I'll go. Lindsay, I don't think, feels the same stress as I feel. Much calmer guy than I am. So we go, and the moment we open the door, the next Tuesday, we open the door, we're in this big home ec room where there's all these round tables, and it's packed full of people. And it's not packed full of students, it's packed full of people, like adults. Like, there's some teachers, which are okay, and there's some students, which are okay, but then there's all these adults. And it turns out we all sit down and take a seat, and Mr. Sutherland sits there, and I sit here, and Lindsay sits there in our round tables. And the principal stands up and he says, okay, everyone, what we have here are student leaders and teacher leaders, and we have community leaders from the community of Ladner. That's where I grew up. And we want everyone to stand up and say who they are and a little bit about themselves so we know who you are. And then we're going to have lunch and mix and mingle and network, etc. And he sits down and I immediately fall into a black hole. Like a black hole, my head disappears and a black hole appears. And the thing about black holes is that it sucks everything into it, right? It just sucks everything in. It's so powerful. And it sucks everything of me into it. My personality, all my ideas. I have nothing in my head. It feels like nothing. And there's people standing up and saying things. And I feel like it's a firing squad and that the guns are moving their way to aim towards me. And soon they're going to be aiming at me and that's going to be it. The end. And at that moment when I'm totally freaking out about nothing, I mean, really about nothing, I just have to stand up and say something. And isn't that interesting? That's a good point. Often where we freak out the most are about the most inconsequential things. We're going to come back and talk about that. Inconsequential things, but real stress, but inconsequential. So Lindsay at that point leans over and he says, okay, guys, this is what I'm going to say. And he says something that is so funny that even in my stressed out state, I burst out laughing because it's that funny. I can't even remember what it is, but it was that funny. Mr. Sutherland and I laugh while I'm super stressed. And then that actually makes it worse, right? Worse. It makes it worse because now like my friend has got something that is amazing and I've got nothing. My black hole is sucking everything in. And the thing about stress is that at a certain point it translates. You think I've got nothing and that translates into I am nothing. And in those moments you feel like you are nothing, that you have nothing to offer the world, nothing to offer anyone. So the firing squad comes along and Mr. Sutherland stands up and says his name and then tells a story, this 2-minute story about what happened to him on the way to the lunch and sits down. People are laughing. Oh, it's so funny and clapping. It's so great. You're so great. And I'm even more stressed. And he sits down and I stand up, even though I don't want to. I'm thinking legs don't work. Just don't work because it would be way better to sit there looking like an idiot than stand up and prove that I'm an idiot, right?
Right.
So my legs stand me up anyway because social pressure is so intense. My mouth opens because social pressure is so intense and out comes my name. Thank goodness I can remember my name. And I think at that moment, shut your mouth and sit down. Again, way better for people to think I'm an idiot than for them to know. But instead, my mouth opens and I have no idea what's going to come out. I literally have no idea. There's nothing in my head. And if any of you have done any acting, I mean, I'm an actor. This is a normal feeling. Often, many times before going out on stage, I'm running around going, what's my line? What's my line? What's my line? Because you can't remember the moments before. You're like totally empty. And one of the hardest and strangest and most powerful things you can learn as an actor is that you can walk out on stage inside your body screaming, I don't know what my first line is. And you can open up your mouth and out will come your line. It's the weirdest thing. Thank goodness for rehearsal. Okay, so I open my mouth. I have no idea what's going to come out. And what comes out is?
What?
Lindsay's joke.
No kidding.
Yes, not kidding. It's exactly what happens.
You stole his joke?
Lindsay's joke. And the audience goes crazy. The room goes crazy. Oh, they're laughing. They're going back. Roger, he's so funny.
Oh.
And I sit down and Lindsay is standing up and I look at him and we're like two ships passing in the night and I glance at his eyes and I glance away because he's like looking like, what did you do that for? And I'm sitting down into the darkest moment of my young life. The darkest moment of my young life because I realized at that moment that stress, inconsequential but real stress, inconsequential but real stress could change my character, could turn me into someone that I didn't want to be, that I never wanted to be. A person who would steal his friend's joke just so that I didn't look stupid, right? Who is that person? Someone who would rather look good than to be good? Like, that's not who I am. That's not who I wanted to be. And I sat down into this mortifying moment. Mortifying, I choose that word very specifically because what does mort mean? The root of mortify is mort, and mort means death. I would have rather died in that moment than to feel what I was feeling. Really, it was shocking how real it became that my character was malleable in such a way. So that started my journey. I said I would never feel like that again, or I'd never want it to feel like that again. And so I launched myself on a path where I kept putting myself into positions of leadership and performance so that I would feel stress, inconsequential or consequential, and that I would start to learn how to deal with it so that stress would not have the ability to change who I was at my core, but rather I would have the ability to be who I was, whether I was stressed or not. Right?
Right. Wow.
Okay. So let's talk about you guys for a moment. Okay. So you're standing in front of a door, and on the other side of the door are people who have the power to control your future. They have the power to control your fate. Maybe they even have the power to control your career. Now, this is the metaphorical door, okay? So the people on the other side could be all sorts of different people, wherever you hold your stress. So for example, it could be when you're going to talk to your boss and ask for a raise, right? Or it could be when you have to lead a meeting or give a presentation or a sales pitch. Or one of the worst, when you just have to go to a networking event, like a social event where you're networking. Those are some of the most stressful things for people, even though they're supposed to be fun. Right? They're super stressful. Or it could be something like a job interview or something else entirely. Like you fill in where your stress is, right? It could be personal. It could be that talk you have to have with your teenager, your tweenager, that sex talk. It could be the talk you have to have with your spouse about things aren't working and that you guys have to work to make things better. It could be anywhere that's where stress lives for you. And let's face it, stress lives everywhere for us. Stress lives in our job, in our home. It lives where we play, and it lives where we work. That's part of being a human, is dealing with stress. So that's the door we're talking about. On one side are the people with the power to control your future and fate. You're on the other side. Now, you've come prepared. Right? You've done your homework. You're trying to stay loose and alive and free, full of energy in that moment, because you want to walk in that door and be the biggest, best, most authentic version of yourself you can possibly be, where you want to do magnificent things in that room. But it's hard to do even normal things like breathe, right? Where breathing becomes an actual challenge. And moments before that door opens, and you're sitting there having done your work, having done your homework, ready to go in, things start shifting around inside of you. It's like you're a ship that's springing leaks all over the place. You start to sweat in places that you never thought you could sweat. You start to feel small and shrunken and tight and constrained, right? You start to feel not even like yourself. Like you start to feel like a different person. And often we have this out of body experience where, we sort of float up and we can see ourselves, our whole body, but it's like we're a puppet master with the strings cut and we can't control what's going on. We can just watch it in horror, usually.
Right.
And then the door opens and you walk into your future. Now that was me. So let's flash ahead to 1997, which doesn't sound that far ago, but look at these pictures. Like 1997 was a while ago. I had a phone that was like that, and I certainly had a computer like that. So 1997, I was a working actor. Let's pull up my resume, please, Michael. Yeah, so I'm a working actor. I'd done a ton of stuff already. I'd filmed 10, 20, 30 things. I had gone to, 70, 100 callbacks. At that point, I'd probably already gone to 500 auditions. I audition a lot. One of the reasons I audition a lot is because I'm a character actor and a wild card. What happens is that I'll be brought in, like, let's say one of the funniest ones for me was I was brought in to be a priest, which I play every once in a while. I walked in the room, into the waiting room, and there's this priest that's 65 years old. I'm 30 at the time, and I look probably like in my early 20s. So there's me, my early 20s priest, and then there's a 65-year-old priest who looks like a priest, like he's got all the vestments, And then there's a guy sitting next to him who's like a 75-year-old priest. Oh, wait, and next to him is like an 85-year-old priest, and they all look like priests. And then there's me, like little kid, sitting, swinging my knees on the chair, waiting to go in and pretend to be a priest. So that was me a lot. I auditioned a lot for parts that I wasn't going to get. Like they were going to give it to one of those old guys, but they brought me in just in case they wanted someone young. They were like, let's bring in Roger, just in case they want someone young. He could represent the young energy. Or whatever, whatever it happened to be, the cop or whatever. So I was a wild card. So I auditioned a lot. So by 1997, I've been in these rooms a ton. And I'm looking around at people and they look like the other auditioners, the other professional actors. These are all professional actors. They all look like I felt inside. Nervous, scared, freaked. Like stressed, they'd sit around like this with their sides, and be looking like this, like, you want me? Like, those are the expressions of a stressed person. And I thought, I looked around at them and I felt what I was feeling. And I thought, okay, this has to change. Like either I have to be able to walk into rooms free and alive, full of joy and life, looking forward to what I'm going to do in those rooms. Or I have to change my career because I didn't like the way it was messing with my head, and it was messing with my head. I mean, anyone who has stress in their life understands how it can mess with your head. And so I changed everything. So I said, it either all has to change or I have to change my career. And so what I did is I started to change. What I did actually, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. I actually came up with one massive change, which I followed for the next couple of years. And that made all the difference. All the difference. That one change. It was all it took to make all the difference. But in the meantime, like while I was figuring all this stuff out, what I started to do is what I do. I started to read a lot. I started to study with people because it's really good to hear other people say things. It's a great way of locking and learning. Right? I'm a teacher. That makes sense. And then I do what I do, which is teach. Because nothing motivates you to learn something than standing up, or in this case, sitting down in front of a group of people and teaching it to them. I mean, nothing motivates. I mean, no one wants to stand up in front of a group of people and look like an idiot. As a matter of fact, we know that statistically, because one of the biggest fears that we have as humans is public speaking. It's like death, divorce, and public speaking.
I think it's first actually for a lot of people, Roger.
And I mean, the joke is there's an old joke, that most people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy.
Yep.
Right? Like most people are so terrified of public speaking that they'd rather be dead than doing it. And the thing about public speaking is that they're not afraid of public speaking. People public speak all the time. Every time you open your mouth and there's someone around, you're public speaking. The reason people are afraid of public speaking is because they're afraid of looking like an idiot while public speaking. Like that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of making the whole world. Just like I started this talk with my story, I was afraid of proving that I was an idiot, right? So I started to teach, and now teaching is the first passion I ever found. It's the thing that I could do for the rest of my life and be happy. Wait
a second. First passion, Roger?
Okay. So maybe not first passion. My first passion I found in life was women, or girls at the time. But my first professional passion, let's put it that way. Let's be more specific. My first professional passion was teaching. And I love it. I love teaching. I'd gladly spend most of my life doing that. Although I like doing lots of other things too. So while I started teaching, I started to create these things called Rogers Rules, like on the screen there. And I call them Rogers Rules for a very specific reason, for two very specific reasons. The first reason is, and this is usually when I'm talking to a big group of people, this is where I get them to shout out, and I say, why do I call them Rogers Rules? And people sit there. Yeah, people sit there for a minute and go, and they're all like looking around, like, should I say something? Because there's a really obvious answer, but I don't think I should say it because it seems too obvious. Because the obvious answer is, I'm Roger, right? I called them Rogers Rules because I'm Roger. They relate to me. And this is one of the things that we're going to talk about. It's really important for you to find out what works for you, not to just blindly swallow what any person tells you works for them. You want to find out what works for you. So my hope at the end of this course is that you would, scratch off Roger, maybe lovingly scratch it off, and put your name over top of it. And you might, scratch off one or two of the rules and circle 3 or 4 of the other rules and go, these are the ones that really, really resonate for me. Because what's important is what resonates for you, right? For you, not for me. Although what I believe I'm teaching certainly resonates for most people most of the time. So Roger's rules. The other reason I call it Roger's rules is because if you say it really fast, it sounds like you're saying Roger rules, and that makes me very happy.
Right.
So Roger rules, and I get people to write them down. And the reason I get them to write them down is very, very, very simple. Because it turns out in this age of electronics, when we write everything by typing, we don't remember things nearly as well when we type. When we type, it's a very easy process for our mind. Typing is so easy for us that it becomes automatic. We don't think I'm typing Y. You just type Y. Like you see it, your body translates and does it. So what you need to do is write things down, because the process of scratching a pen across a page, that implement, is a visceral action. And that it takes time and energy and commitment to do it. And that time, energy, and commitment is what learning is about. You need to put time, energy, and commitment into learning if you actually want it to lock in for you. So whenever you need to memorize anything, so when I have a commercial audition, which are often a minute or 2 minutes of straight talking, other people's words, that you've got to make it sound like they're obviously your thoughts and your words, and they've got to come out without a hitch, for 2 minutes, and that's it. It's your take and you're done, right? So when I have a really tough thing to memorize, an audition or a part of a play or whatever that I'm working on, or in a talk, I write it down. Like if I get to it and I go, oh, I can't seem to remember this part, that's my sign, right, for me to write it down. It's your brain going, this isn't locked into your brain. I don't really understand the transition from this thought to the next thought. That transition doesn't work. So you need to write it down, right? So always write down things that you have trouble memorizing or that you need to memorize. So write them down. I created some categories. We're not going to spend a lot of time on these categories. Let's just see what they are, Michael, so that we can whip through them. There's own your process. And if I were to ask you what is the key term, if I were going to get you to underline one word out of own your process, which one would it be? What do you think? Michael, do you have an answer? Yeah, you got it. That's great. Yeah, your is the answer, because it's important to identify your process. And then own your mind and own the room. So basically what we're talking about is own your process, do your homework, all the things that you need to do to get to the room, to get to that stressful situation. And then when you're there, own your mind, own your internal reality, and own the room, own the external reality. It's very simple in my mind. That's why I break it down. Is you need to do your homework, and then you need to own what's going on inside, and you need to own what's going on outside, because that will create increased confidence and personal power, which is what we're all about here. Really, we're about increasing confidence and personal power. So that you can deal with stressful situations, so that you can deal with things that throw you off your game in a way that you can pulls it back into your game, and you can actually deal with it as you, the most authentic, best you. So now I'm going to turn over to Michael in a second.
Yeah, before you do that, Roger, I think this would be an appropriate time. Why don't you tell us that story about the dental?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I love this story. So this is just a recent story. I was in the early March, so just a month and a bit ago, I was presenting to the dental conference we have in Vancouver here. I'm in Vancouver, BC. If you guys haven't come to Vancouver, you should come to Vancouver, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, one of them for sure. And so I'm presenting at this dental conference, and it's like 12,000 people. And it's quite an honor to get accepted in it and into it, because I'm not a dentist. I have nothing to do with dentistry. And 90% of what they talk about is dentistry stuff. But they also bring in outside speakers, and very few, to talk about bigger issue, or not bigger issues, because dentistry is big to dentists, but more wide sweeping issues. So I came to talk about confidence and how to be the best version of yourself you can be. So I have a lot of people in my session. It's awesome. I'm very honored. I have people sitting in the aisles. There's so many people, we have to turn people away. And it turns out that one of these people in there was this guy. So, oh, sorry, I messed the story up. That was like the first conference I did a year ago. So let's jump back. Let me situate this properly, frame it. So now we're back to this year. So I've been asked back. So I did it last year, and now I've been asked back, which is an even bigger honor because they almost never have the same speakers come back the same 2 years in a row. But they've asked me. So I'm very honored. It's very wonderful. And I'm about to speak to 200, 400 dental technicians, okay, like as a subgroup. And just before I start, like 5 to 7 minutes before I start, these two, like this guy and girl, this man and woman, sort of run into the room furtively and run to the very front row and sit at the very front row. Even though there's no one in the first 4 rows, right? These are dental technicians who are sitting in the back because they're afraid of who's this guy going to talk about? What was he going to do, right? So I'm very curious, and I've got a couple minutes. It's a couple minutes before I start. So I walk over and I say to them, so what's the deal? Why are you guys sitting here like this? And why did you run in like this? And so the woman leans in and she says, I'm going to tell you the story. My husband is very shy, and he's sitting there and he goes, yeah, and I've got to go to the washroom. So he goes to the washroom. He's that shy. He can't even listen to this story. She says, I'm a dentist. So I'm here last year, and my husband came with me. He went and saw other things. I did all dentist things. So he went and saw you. He is an entrepreneur. He works with clients. He deals with sales, and he deals with employees all the time, every day. It's always a source of stress for him. Always a source of stress. Every day, this is a source of stress because he's very shy. He came to your talk last year when you talked at the dental conference and came home a changed man. Like, I don't know how else to say it. He's a changed man. He changed the way he interacted with his clients, his employees, and with his sales team. He took what you talked about and made changes based on your rules, Roger's rules. And I'm here this year because he's a different man. Like, a year has gone by and he's different. Like, he's a better boss now. Like, as an entrepreneur, the stress that he had every day is mostly gone because he listened to you. So, Roger, we're here to listen because he wants to hear again what you said so that he can make sure he's doing all the things. And I desperately want to know what you taught him because I've known, he's my husband. I've been with him most of his life, and nothing has made a difference to him like your talk, a talk. So this is the interesting thing. I mostly go talk to people. I get in front of people on a stage and I talk for, if I'm lucky, 2 hours. Often I talk for an hour. I love to have more time because more time means more transformation. The reason we are actually doing this webinar, and this is a brand new thing for us, for Michael and I, this is a brand new thing, our webinar. The reason that we're offering this is because this is my way of getting off the stage and getting into a teaching situation, getting off a speaking stage and getting into a teaching course because teaching is where things really change. Transformations happen all over the place. They can happen all over depending on how, if you're ready for it or not. But in a course where you're actually getting one-on-one, where you're getting to interact with someone and you're actually getting to ask your questions, where you're actually getting your comments and your thoughts are part of the process, that is something that speeds up and turbocharges transformation. So that's why we're talking webinar to you today about our course. And I think, Michael, this is time maybe to turn back over to you.
Certainly, Roger. That every time I hear that story, it's incredible, the transformation that a talk, what was it, a 1 hour talk that he saw the first time that could transform his life so dramatically?
It was actually a 2 hour and 15-minute talk. And I actually credit the fact that it was longer for having the impact. I've had lots of people come up and talk to me, and I've had lots of people come up and send me emails. We're gonna read some of them later as more social proof. I've had lots of people come up and say, your talk not only was like the best at the conference, which is nice, but doesn't really mean much to me. What really means something to me is when they say, and it made a difference to me. Like, it made a difference. It made me think and feel and act differently, because that's why we go to things like this. Like, I started creating Roger's Rules because I desperately needed to change. I could not continue walking into those rooms feeling so stressed. I needed to change. So we listen to these things. We give our time and energy and money to these things because we know in ourselves that we need to change. We need to be bigger, better versions of ourselves. And to be bigger, better versions of ourselves, we need help. Being bigger and better of yourself is almost impossible to do on your own. It's almost impossible because you can't see. You're in yourself. You're stuck in you. Your objective reality is so subjective. And we're going to talk about that later. As a matter of fact, one of my rules, I'll give it to you as a bonus right now, which is practice out loud, tape it and watch it. Because you have to tape and watch what you're doing to really get a sense of what you're doing, because we never know what we're doing. We never know. We think we're doing something, and then someone comes in. Another of my rules is the last person to know how you did in the room is you. Right? The last person to know how I did in the room is me. Not that I won't know, but that I will be the last person to know, because there are so many other things that are going on. There's so many other stimuli, millions of stimuli that are coming in that I'm processing. How could I possibly also put myself outside of myself to judge what I'm doing? That's a brutal. I mean, I went to acting school for 3 years, 12 hours a day, basically for 3 years, just to start developing the skills so I could see what I'm doing. So yeah, we need help to see how to change.
Exactly. Most people spend their whole lives not knowing how to transform their stress into success. However, you can see what Roger showed today can make the difference. So imagine how different your life could be if you started to apply these insider secrets. So would you agree that this has been a beneficial 40 minutes that we spent together today on this webinar thus far? Now, we can't cover everything you need to know in one short hour or one short webinar. No. And even if we had more time today, we couldn't cover everything you need to know, nor would it be practical. That's why I'm so excited to be able to make this offer to you, where you can get everything you need to know. And if you act fast, you can get some incredible bonuses that you'll be tickled pink about. Here's what it's all about. Announcing our Mastermind webinar course, Transform Your Stress into Success. And our Mastermind webinar course is the ultimate shortcut to transforming your stress into success. We'll get all the insider secrets from the best trainer in the world right at your fingertips from the comfort of your own home or office. So let's talk about what's included in this webinar program. Mastermind webinar course, Transform Your Stress into Success. Each webinar is filled with 60 plus minutes of powerful, life-changing strategies and lessons that you can apply right away. Now, Roger, I'm going to give it back to you again because you're the expert. So let's talk about the webinars one by one.
Sure. So webinar number one, get comfortable being uncomfortable. So these are Roger's rules, right? And Roger's rules are short and hopefully pithy, because when you're in stress, you're in a really deep, dark hole usually, and you need handholds to pull yourself out. So I have very simple, very sharp, I hope, sayings, rules that will stick in your mind, sticky, so they'll be sticky. So what we talk about in terms of get comfortable being uncomfortable is that most people think of discomfort as a sign. Right? And they're right. Discomfort is a sign. Being uncomfortable is a sign. But most people totally misinterpret what that sign is and actually believe it is the totally opposite sign from what it actually is. I believe that humans spend most of our time in this weird world where we believe the opposite of what is true, even though the truth is visible and obvious. But we are so wrapped up in our internal reality, which are all the things that we're going to be talking about, how important managing your internal reality is, and how important your internal reality is to determine what you perceive as your external reality. And all this stuff is going to be brought to you not just by my experience, which is a lot of experience. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but it's also going to be brought to you by neuroscience, advances in neuroscience. It turns out in the last 5 years, 90% of what we know about the human brain has been discovered. 90%. So everything that we knew about the human brain before 2010 has been squished into 10% now. We used to think of it as 100%. Now it's squished into 10%. And in the last 5 years, 90% of what we now know about the human brain, we've discovered through neuroscience, because we finally have found the way to study how our brains work. So we're going to talk a lot about neuroscience and how neuroscience supports all of these things that I'm talking about, which is amazing and wonderful, because if I taught this 10 years ago, I would have been saying to you, I believe this is the truth. I believe you should believe it too. Now I get to say, this is what I believe. And guess what? Science proves that it's true, because it is true. And if you practice and follow what it is that I'm going to be teaching, you will change. That's it. You'll change. And if you don't, we have a guarantee that we're going to talk about soon. Let's go on to webinar number 2. So remember, these are all 60 plus minutes, right? So there's going to be 60 plus minutes, maybe 70, depends. Sometimes I talk longer, as you can tell. As we dive into these issues, and you have a chance to ask questions and be part of the training process. You will also be able to watch it later at your leisure. You know, stop and start, watch the parts that you think are really valuable over and over again. When I taught acting for over a decade, I taught at Vancouver Film School for like 6 or 7 years. I used to have, all my actors would say, they have a list of Rogers rules. And before they go to do any audition, before they go to do any scene, before they go to do any work that's stressful, they would just read through Rogers rules and make sure that they were top of mind. So webinar number 2. Fight to stay positive. Holy cow. This is a fight, and you need to fight to stay positive, because when you're stressed, what we're going to learn, neuroscience teaches us, is that when you're stressed, negative is the predominant emotion and predominant thought pattern. It turns out that when you're under stress, it's as if the positive part of your brain, the part of your brain that remembers positive things, that's what I mean, actually shuts off. And you become an amnesiac. You become like someone who has amnesia, so that when you are under stress, all you can see from the past, in your past, all you can see are the negative things. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that also make you start to shift your head and go, wait a minute, if I'm under stress and all I can see is negative, that explains why when I'm under stress, just before going into stressful situations, I feel so crappy. And why it's so hard to feel positive. Well, now that you know that stuff, we will have strategies to reverse that trend, so that you can actually walk in fighting to stay positive, because you need to stay positive when you're under stress. Okay, let's move on.
Number 3.
The power of pretending. This is one of my favorites. Some people call it fake it till you make it. I often refer to it as that as well, but I don't like the negative connotation of fake it till you make it. The power of pretending is immense. We are all actors all the time. Well, not all the time, but much of the time. We are all actors, and we all know about the power of pretending. It's not just kids who know it. We all know it. And in this webinar, we're going to talk about how to unlock that power and use it for your advantage. We're going to talk about things like power posing and how to actually change the chemical makeup of your body in 2 short minutes, how you can, in 2 short minutes, change how you're feeling to go from negative to positive, how to go from stressful to non-stressed. So that's the power of pretending, amongst other things.
Number 4.
Webinar number 4, body language. Okay, body language. So I find this statement mind-blowing. The thing that we spend the least on, the thing that we spend the least amount of time thinking about, is the thing that most people spend the most amount of time reacting to.
Really?
The thing that we spend the least on is the thing that most people spend the most time getting information from. The way our body communicates is way more powerful and valuable than what we are actually saying with our mouth. We can say all sorts of things, blah, blah. As a matter of fact, we can be Charlie Brown's teacher. And people will still understand what we're saying, because our body is communicating. But what we want to do is create alignment, so that what's happening in your body and in your mind, your intention, are aligned, so that you are actually communicating the thing that you want to communicate, not communicating the opposite, which is what most people do. Walking into rooms where they're stressed, most people communicate exactly the opposite of what they want. So we're going to talk about how to do that, how to manage that. And then we're going to talk about a couple bonuses, I think, next. Oh, here we go. They're already up.
They're coming up. So bonuses, number 5 is a question and answer session. We've added that. And actually last night, Roger and I had a meeting online like we are right now. Bonus webinar number 6 is the first of Roger's rules.
Yeah. So remember when I said back in 1997, there was one thing I changed, and that was the thing that changed everything for me. In the meantime, I started to work on all these Roger's rules, but the one rule that changed them all The one rule that in the brightness binds them. Sorry, Tolkien. But the one rule is our bonus webinar. And actually, we're going to stick some other rules in there as well. It's going to be our catch-all because there's going to be a bunch of other rules. And there's more rules. I've got like 42 of them now. Not all are applicable to every situation, but there's a lot. Our first course is going to cover some of them, but there's going to be others as well.
Talking about our bonuses, we've got a full slate of them here. First bonus is the special live question and answer webinar. We've talked about number 5. We're also instituting in the next 2 months a program called Transform Your Stress into Success Association, which is going to have a weekly Rogers Rule video and an in-depth examination of at least one rule each month and an actual Q&A, what's working now. Again, we're going to run by these pretty fast because we've got a lot of information to cover still yet for you. We're also going to have, for the very first 5 people who register, a 30-minute Skype personal one-on-one coaching call with Roger. And we've announced, of course, just a second ago, that 6th bonus of the first Rogers Rules. So there's lots of information there that's going to come in the course. It's like getting personal consultations with our expert without the personal price. 10 years of teaching, classes, university coaching, 3,000 editions, books, blogs, exercises, and we can carry on. And you can do that from your home or office. Convenient and private. We want you to join our webinar family and our community of like-minded people and get your questions answered and achieve your goals faster. The fastest, easiest way to get results. Our goal is to help you achieve success sooner. To help you accelerate your journey, to help guide you towards the goal of increased confidence and personal power, to beat stress in everyday situations for a better life, and to transform you into the biggest, best, most authentic version of yourself you can possibly be in any moment. And if you just look at that slide before I switch it, what's the predominant word that comes out after each line? You, you, you. Our course is tailored for you.
Yeah.
Habits are hard to change, right? And that's why you've probably been struggling with stress in your life, whether it's personal or business. If we ended the webinar right now and parted ways, would you agree with me that it's highly doubtful that you'd immediately change your habits and behavior to increase your confidence and have more personal power? In fact, you're probably already aware how easy it is to fall back into your old habits. Well, we're not going to let that happen. If you want true lasting change of habits so you can finally transform your stress into success, then you're going to need repeated exposure to these concepts, and you're going to need accountability. Luckily for you, our Mastermind webinar course will do that. And Roger, do you want to talk about accountability just for a quick second?
Sure. And I also want to talk about spacing. So one of the newest things that we're finding in education theory is how powerful spacing is as a concept for actually making a change for people, that people will remember, they will learn things, remember it, and actually be able to make a change. So the idea of accountability and spacing is that we will give you, especially if you're talking about the association, we're going to give you ongoing small chunks of time, short videos that will come to you like once a week, that will keep locking in the learning for you so that your transition to more power and more confidence will actually continue taking place. So we've thought a lot about this. Like I'm not interested in just offering something that looks good that doesn't create change. I want change in the world. This is why I'm talking this way. The world needs more and more people being the biggest, best, most authentic version of themselves they can possibly be at this time, more than any other time in the history of the world. This is what we need. People like you being the best they can be, living the best life. So the way we've set up this course is to allow you the luxury of all of our training, all of our experience coming to you in like an accountable and spaced out manner so that you will actually, over the course of time, change, be a different version of yourself, a better version of yourself. Okay.
So the question becomes, can you afford to wait 5, 10, 20 years before mastering your stress? Our Mastermind webinar course is the ultimate shortcut to getting these insider secrets from the best trainer right at your fingertips. Now, I'm sure everyone's dying to find out what the course is, what the cost is. So let's get into that point right now. What is the investment? We could have asked $9.99, and that would not have been unreasonable, but we're not asking $9.99 or even $5.99. What we're offering is at the special introductory price of $297 for the full course, which includes our lifetime membership and 100% money back guarantee. But you need to act fast if you want to secure this heavily discounted price, because we soon will be moving it back up to $5.99 and then $9.99. And there's the link where you can go ahead and order, durangopublishing.com/beat stress.
So Michael, is that in their chat room so they can just click on it? Is there a way of popping it up there?
Yes, Roger. In the chat box, we have just populated the Mastermind webinar course, Become a Member. So if anybody wants to log into that, just click on the Become a Member Today yellow banner bar at the bottom. That won't take you out of the webinar. It'll actually open up a new tab, and you can carry on listening to us while you go ahead and access that. And remember, the first 5 and only the first 5 people are the ones who get that special 30-minute Skype coaching call with Roger.
And to get that, does it pop up automatically in their chat box, or do they have to go to a different, do they have to hit a different menu button?
No, everybody should be seeing in the right-hand side, right where the chat box is, they should be seeing the Become a Member Today. And if you're not, then at the top where it says chat, just move along to chat room and then pop-ins, and you'll click on that. And
okay, great. The one over there is pop-in. Yeah. Great.
But everybody should have it.
Okay.
So we also want to talk briefly about what the guarantee is in this. So I'd like to claim that you risk nothing today because there's special unconditional guarantee. But that's actually not even true in itself. Here's our guarantee, 100% money back. If for any reason, Transform Your Stress into Success is not for you, simply email us within 30 days and we'll issue a 100% refund, no questions asked.
Yeah, absolutely, because let's be realistic here. This isn't for everyone. Not everyone, first of all, has these issues in their life. Some people already have dealt with stress, or some people just don't care about it. But for the vast majority of people, this is an issue. But it still might not be something that's suitable for you. You might be like, I just am not interested in making this change in my life right now. There's other things that are more important, or whatever. That's obviously up to you. Like, you guys need to make the choice whether this is right for you or not. But I do believe that this is a human issue. When people ask me, who is this for? I say, if you're a human, it's for you, because this is a human issue. We as humans, this is part of our journey in life, is to figure out how we are both a herd species and yet full of personal power. And that journey between being a herd and full of personal power, that is what we're going to talk about. So it might not be for you, but let's say it's for you, but you can't afford it. You know, I'm going to throw down this challenge. Like, take the course and then ask for the money back. Like, if you literally can't afford it, take the course and then within 30 days, ask for your money back. We will not care. I will be happy that you have taken the course and asked for your money back, because the truth of the matter is, I believe that once you've taken the course, you will not ask for your money back, because I think you will go, I need this. I continue needing this so that I can continue seeing change. So I will throw down the gauntlet and say, please take the course with the idea that you're going to just take your money back and scam us. Please scam us, because I believe if you go in with that intention, you will leave without it, because what we offer is full of value. It is full of value. Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's just recap real quickly here. Consider what could happen in your life if you were able to transform your stress into success and increase your confidence and have more personal power. Would that mean a pay raise?
Would that mean mastering a presentation that you've been dreading?
Or finally being able to ask out that someone special?
Or leading a meeting in a cool and confident manner?
Or attending that network or social meeting?
Getting a promotion?
Or having a happier and more positive discussion with your partner, parents, or children?
Being able to work with your coworkers in a more harmonious fashion, with your boss, that'd be nice.
Or feeling more comfortable and relaxed the next time you report to your boss.
Just, or ultimately just reducing the anxiety and stress that you have on a daily basis, right?
That's right. Every second you delay is another opportunity for stress to get in the way of a more confident and powerful you. So don't miss out on this incredible risk-free opportunity. Jump in with both feet now and let Roger help transform your stress into success and watch how your life changes. Let's fast forward here, Roger, and talk. Before we do that, if anyone has any questions, now's the time to pop them into the chat box. They're there. You can pop them in anytime you want, and we will get them.
I love questions. Like, please put in some questions. We got some more social proof here.
Yeah, let's do a couple more of those.
Okay, so Roger demonstrates how incorporating play at your conference, one of the things I talk about, your workplace or simply your daily life can enrich your learning habits and increase both productivity and creativity. So one of the things I talk about is how important play is. Play is one of the most powerful forces we have as humans, and as adults, we almost never use it. Almost never. And yet just making the change to include play in how you approach life will impact your stress and impact your character. The more play you bring in, I believe, the less stress you will have. Do we have another one here?
Yeah, we do, Roger. There's another one. Actually, there's two more. There's one here from Milos.
Roger, this is a good one to read. Roger's a true talent, and it was awe-inspiring watching him. He was literally bursting with energy and had the entire room captivated with his intensity and charisma. I would not hesitate to hire or work with Roger again and would enthusiastically recommend his services. Thank you, Milos, who is a great guy. And then you said there was one more.
Terry Brock.
Oh, this is, something that we recently got. Okay, so Terry Brock and Robert Stack, thank you both of you for saying such a wonderful thing. Terry came to a presentation I did at the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers last year. And it was very interesting because I had an hour presentation and I ended as lunch was starting in another room. And I was like, okay, so I got to wrap up in the next 2 minutes because we're going off to lunch. And Terry shouted out from the audience. He was like, don't worry about lunch. Just keep going. And everyone else was like, yeah. Just keep going. Don't worry. And I went like, really? Like, I got another 15 minutes. Is that okay? And they went like, yes. So I went for another 15 minutes into lunch. And at the end of which, Terry shouted out, Roger, we want 4 hours of you. We don't want an hour. We want 4 hours. And the truth is, that comment from Terry, who is an amazingly awesome guy, super smart, and he is not only a CSP, which is a high designation for speakers, certified speaking professional, but he is also in the Hall of Fame in the States for speaking. Like, there's hardly any people that are in the Hall of Fame for speakers, and he's one of them. So for him to say this to me is amazing. So when he said we could use 4 hours, it started me thinking about webinars. And when my brother then said, hey, I'm working on webinars now, I said, I thought this is perfect synergy. I'm going to work with my brother and we're going to create a system that I can actually talk to people, interact, teach for longer than the hour or two that I'm usually given. Instead, getting 4 or 5, we're actually talking about 6 hours in this first course to help you become the best version of you can be.
Excellent. Yeah, that's incredible that Terry sent that in. And that, of course, came in just last week or this week, the 23rd.
Yeah.
So, incredible.
It came in when I was in Mexico. What a great thing to come back to.
No kidding. Well, and the fact that he's such a Hall of Famer to make those type of comments, Roger, not only do you feel pretty proud of those comments, but for our audience and for our new members joining in our mastermind webinar course, what a thrill to have someone of Roger's caliber to be able to instruct and teach and motivate and guide and help everybody through that transition of stress into success. So it's just an incredible opportunity for a number of people to get involved in this program. So we're just going to wrap it up. We're at the top of the hour here. So you have a decision to make, and that's regardless of what you choose will affect the rest of your life. So we've done everything in our willpower to give you the best value at the best price with the best chance of your success. So now's the time to meet us halfway. Sign up, click on the button on the right, lock in your amazing opportunity, and remember, you've got a 30-day money-back full-on guarantee. So there's no risk. As we said at one point, the risk is your time. But if you're not prepared to invest a little bit of time to see if the program is going to create that success for you, then as Roger said at one point, this program is probably not for you. Roger, final thoughts, final comments?
Thank you guys so much for giving us your time. I know everyone is so busy these days. It is really hard to find time to peel off from your day. So I really appreciate the time that you have spent. And I really do hope that you consider being part of this course. Like I said, I really feel that there's no reason to hesitate take the course and then drop. I mean, and then just cancel it. Like if it's not for you, or even if it is for you, but you feel you want your money back, do it. I'm not worried. Like I'm not worried that people are going to sign up and then drop out. That's not my concern. I believe that people are going to sign up and start changing their lives. And to me, that's where excitement starts to happen. When people start to become the biggest, most authentic version of themselves they can possibly be, our world is going to become a much more interesting, much more dynamically exciting place as people start to stand up for the things that are important to them, that they're not hindered by their own internal demons, by their own stress or anxiety. I'm looking forward to a world like that.
Excellent. Roger and I want to thank you for attending today and staying with us to the end. Just as a real quick side note, I've got the statistics up on the webinar here. We've got 96% of the people that started the webinar still online with us. So we've obviously hit some key points for some people because everybody's hung on to the very end. Since you've committed your time to be with us here until the end, that tells us that you're someone who is dedicated to success. It seems to us you'd be perfect to try out our offer today, so go ahead and jump on and do that. You'll be happy you did. Click on the link to the right, and we'll see you in the members area. That's it for Roger and I. We guys hope you have a successful day today and enjoy your transforming your stress into success.
Thanks so much.